what would you say is the state of the war, they say, against Hezbollah in your country? What is the humanitarian fallout? Is Hezbollah still standing and fighting? Tell me where we are a few days into this war on your country.
Oh, as a result of the current war, there are around 570 killed, more than 1,400 injured. The number of displaced, you are talking about 800,000, but in reality, these are only the one that has been registered, and I foresee that the number is really higher than this. There are therefore a real dramatic situation in Lebanon, and the civilians are suffering a lot. The country is suffering for huge damages, and the schools are closed, and the current situation is very difficult.
So UNICEF also says that Israel's strikes have killed more than 10 children so far every day. Let me play for you this displaced woman from South Lebanon, what she's saying about her situation. Here's her words in translation.
There is such a big difference between sitting comfortably in your own home, cooking your food, where no one tells you to get up and leave, where no one speaks harshly to you. Now the difference is very big. Very big. Do not look at me. The difference is huge. The difference between sleeping in your own bed and sleeping on the ground.
So how are you coping, you as a government, coping with the humanitarian crisis? What can you do? Can you support people like her in the street?
No, you can imagine that it is very difficult. Everything was very sudden. Unfortunately, the government has to cope with a huge number of displaced. The government is providing shelters, providing 100,000, if I'm not mistaken, of hot meal to the displaced per day. The situation is very difficult because the resources are not very high. However, despite all these problems, there is a full mobilization of the government in order to address the needs as much as possible. The needs are huge and the problems are huge. However, the government is working day and night to be able to cope with these huge difficulties.
And this, of course, is on top of the last Israel-Hezbollah war, where apparently 4,000 people were killed in Lebanon. The World Bank says it caused $11 billion in damage to your country, and more than 1 million were already displaced. But now let me ask you about the central issue here, and that is the continued activity of Hezbollah, and Hezbollah firing at targets inside Israel in the opening days of Israel and the U.S. war on Iran. Now, your government is taking quite a hard line on Hezbollah. Your president has said there's a ban, he's announced a ban on all Hezbollah military actions, but they're still fighting. So what can you do? I mean, first of all, what can you do to stop them right now?
No, what is important at the beginning is to explain a little bit that after a long period of time, where Hezbollah was installing all its military infrastructure, this government was appointed 1 year ago, and this government took a first decision through the governmental declaration that has been presented to the parliament, where it was clearly stated that the monopoly of the state of the strengths must be given only to the state. And this is a condition to build a state. So this first decision was taken through this declaration, and the declaration was approved by all the ministers, including the ministers close to Hezbollah. And this decision was also presented to the parliament, and the government was granted the confidence of the parliament with MPs pertaining to Hezbollah. The government was granted the confidence. Then the government took another decision to start implementing the monopoly of the strengths in the hands of the states through the army's action. The army provided a plan, and the plan was ongoing before this war erupted.
Okay.
And also after that, there was strikes coming from Israel and Israel was taking as a pretext the presence of the military infrastructure of Hezbollah. But the position of the state is that in order to build for internal reasons and for the interest of Lebanon, it was very important to implement the monopoly of the weapons. Hezbollah was complicating the process. Hezbollah did not cooperate as much as it should in this process. And by not cooperating, it was clear that Hezbollah was offering also pretexts for Israel to strike on Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And when Hezbollah took the unilateral decision to launch rockets against Israel, they gave also the pretext to Israel to start a large war. Right. So we were in a process of strikes, and now we are in a full war.